There's, this idea that's been rattling around lately. A crisis of comprehension that's sweeping right under our noses.
Yeah, it's crazy how, while everyone's busy screaming about pronouns and gas stoves, a deeper, more dangerous collapse of, critical thinking is happening.
Exactly. I mean, think about this. While we're scrolling and getting caught up in outrage culture, our ability to actually think logically is just crumbling.
Yep,
It's like we're, numb to the real issues.
right. And it's not just the internet. It's in schools, workplaces, local governments, even in our classrooms.
Yeah, and you know what's, really unsettling? Many adults were never even taught how to think. Not what to think, but how, like, to evaluate a source, how to challenge authority
Mm-hmm.
intelligently. It's all about stumbling through without a proper guide.
Sure. But don't you think that maybe it's not that simple? I mean, society's changed a lot. Maybe we need new ways to teach thinking.
I get that, but the point is, even basic logic is missing. It's not just about new methods, it's about fundamental skills like distinguishing fact from, opinion.
Right.
And that's where our whole system is failing.
And, studies back this up. I recall a Stanford study showing over 50% of high school students couldn't tell a real news story from a paid ad. That's kind of alarming.
Absolutely. And there's another study that says around 80% of adults have trouble evaluating online information, which means almost everyone is exposed to misinformation
Yeah.
daily. It's like we're drowning in digital noise.
And these aren't just isolated cases, it's systemic. Take, for example, people who believe COVID was a hoax one moment and then think vaccines contain microchips the next. It, really shows how confused we are.
Right. And then there's the, political arena. Millions are convinced the election was stolen, yet they can't even explain how an election works. It's imperfect logic at its
Mm-hmm.
worst. It's not just frustrating, it's downright dangerous.
Exactly. Because when critical thinking dies, manipulation wins. I mean, think about history. Totalitarian regimes didn't start with tanks. They started with, lies and propaganda.
Precisely. They flood the public with nonsense and doubt until trust disintegrates. And once people stop trusting, they're, too confused to resist the simplest explanations, even if they're
Yes.
blatantly false.
But, isn't it a bit harsh to say our education system was designed solely to create compliant workers? Aren't there parts of it that try to foster independent thought?
Fair point, but the overall structure, memorization, standardized tests, and a lack of debate classes, seems to, discourage critical inquiry. It's like they're teaching kids to, you know, sit quietly and repeat, not ask why. The
Mm-hmm.
focus is on passing a test, not on challenging the information.
And that's where the danger lies. If we're not encouraged to ask, how do you know that's true? Then misinformation can spread unchecked.
Exactly. And when those minds aren't challenged, they become even easier targets for scams, for outrage, for, well, dangerous political ideologies.
Yes, indeed. What's really interesting and a bit scary is that this breakdown in critical thinking is not, confined to any one ideology. It spans across the board.
Right. It's not just left or right. It's an epistemological problem, how we know what we know. And when that foundation is shaky, everything built on it collapses.
Exactly. There are also some wild beliefs out there, like that poll where 14% of Americans believe the government was run by lizard people. That's 50 million people.
Yeah, that's almost surreal. It shows not only a susceptibility to absurdity, but a deeper breakdown in our mental defenses.
Right, that's astonishing. And what really gets me is when adults lack these critical skills, they not only become vulnerable individually, but collectively. It affects elections, policy decisions, basically, our entire democracy.
Absolutely. A population unable to discern fact from fiction is prime for being manipulated. Politicians and profit-driven media thrive in this environment of confusion.
So what's the fix here? Where do we start?
Well, one of the key solutions is rebuilding critical thinking from the very beginning, starting in kindergarten. Because young minds are incredibly receptive to learning how to ask why rather than
Right
just
on.
memorizing facts.
That's a bold idea. Teaching children not just the facts, but how to actually evaluate arguments, detect biases, and question claims.
Exactly. And it shouldn't stop there. We need an overhaul in media literacy, too. Every high school grad should, really understand how algorithms work, how echo chambers form, and how to verify what they read online.
Absolutely. But then, don't you think it's also on us as adults? We need to model this behavior, admitting when we're wrong, constantly learning, and raising the bar for what counts as evidence.
Absolutely. And it's about building a culture that values curiosity over certainty, not just throwing around accusations at differing opinions, but actually engaging with the evidence. Oh, and here's something else. Instead of mocking ignorance, we should offer to help
Yes,
people
exactly.
understand why something is false.
That makes sense. It's more constructive. Instead of dismissing someone, ask, "Can you show me how you figured that out?" It promotes dialogue rather than alienation.
Precisely. And ironically, that method of respectful questioning might be what revives our ability to um, think critically. Because in the end, silence or dismissal only cements the confusion.
That's a strong point. But let's be honest here. The forces that benefit from our confusion aren't going to just let it go. They're profiting off outrage and division. Billionaires, tech giants, and politicians who thrive on keeping us distracted.
Yes, they're peddling misinformation like it's the latest product on the shelf. And every time we fall for clickbait or unverified rumors, it
Right, that's the sad
fuels
truth.
this cycle of ignorance.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more confused we get, the easier it is to manipulate us. And once that happens, democracy can be let off a cliff.
Exactly. And that's why, now more than ever, we need to insist on transparency, evidence, and thoughtful discussion, not just reactionary outrage.
Absolutely. So, what's the takeaway? Should we just hope that by raising awareness, minds will open up?
Ideally, yes. It starts with awareness, then moves to education, from kindergartens all the way to media literacy programs in high schools. We need to empower individuals with the tools to evaluate information critically.
Right. And maybe, just maybe, if enough people start asking those critical questions, like, where did this come from? And what's the evidence? We can tilt the scales back towards, reason and clarity.
Exactly, because democracy doesn't require perfect people. It demands, thinking people. And if we can rebuild that foundation, we can reclaim not only our debates, but our future.
Absolutely. So here's to thinking, questioning, and building a culture that values logic over mere emotion.